All right. Peace, peace, blessings. Haki Ami here, the Success Scholar. Hope you're well. Hope you're well. Yeah, so I wanted to have this conversation, everybody. It's been going on for a few days. Dr. Umar Johnson meets with South African leader of the political party Economic Freedom Fighters. Uh, so let's just dig into it because Um, I raised the question. I did a little experiment. I wanted to see how many people would really have a base or of knowledge on the global Pan African, South African issues that's going on today. And let me just say that this issue may not necessarily be important to many people in the U.S. Of course, none of these individuals are official elected officials, but many have influence over particular audience. And I raised the issue that it's confusion on the battlefield. Like, so what do I mean by that? Now, I'm going to let the some of the video speak for me. Let me just dig into this. Well, many may not know, for instance, that Julius Malema, president of Economic Freedom Fighters, he recently had a protest against Uganda. Now, um, against their LGBT policy. Now, first and foremost, I think that it's rather reaching for an individual to, I mean, you can make a statement about a particular issue in another sovereign country, but, people elect particular leaders for a reason. Now, I do understand the idea of, people having particular rights or, I mean, that you shouldn't be killed for certain things. I think that's is where, and I don't know the specifics. I did see some of the specifics of the law, but am I going to go and have a protest at the embassy over something that's going on in another country for a very small percentage of the population? So I'm not sure, so I'm just curious in terms of what Julius Malema, I'm not sure how many people are affected by the particular policy to where it's that big of an issue. I'm not sure how many, it got to be perhaps 1% or something, very small in Uganda, for it to really, have any implications on a massive scale. So I just was very curious, particularly when in South Africa you have many incidences of Africans from other places moving there and being assaulted by South Africans. So, but let me just pull these things up. Let me, hopefully you all can see. I didn't make these things up. If you all can see, Julius Malema met with Dr. Umar. Let's see, let me go down here. And I just want people to know what my question is. He went to South Africa, he spoke in a school. Umar meets with Julius Malema in South Africa, black people, economic freedom fighters. How can you take land without permission? So that's old. That's old. But here's some of the other pictures that they took meeting in South Africa. Dr. Umar meeting with Julius Malema. But let me just play that. Well, I saw this one. I don't know if I saw that one, but let me just play this little. If you all can see it, this is a short. That's a short. That's somebody's short. I don't want to play that one. Sorry. Let me go back up here. I knew those were shorts. I don't know whose this one is, but let's see.
Johnson is an American psychologist and politician. He has also been involved in discussing on topics such as race, racial justice, and the empowerment of Black community. Back on Julius Malema, on the other hand, is a South African politician who is the leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters Party. He rose to prominence of the former president of the African National Congress Youth League. Malema is known for his fiery, erotic, and radical political stance. He advocated for economic redistribution, land reform, and the nationalization of key industries in South Africa. Malema has been an influential figure in South Africa particularly for his ability to mobilize support from marginalized communities. While both Julius Malema and Dr. Umar Johnson are known for their activism and involvement in political issues, they operate in different contexts and focus on different aspects of social and political changes. Dr. Umar Johnson and Julius Malema have expressed their views on the African continent in various ways. It's important to know that their views are shaped by their respective backgrounds, experience, and political ideologies, and they may have not represent a comprehensive or unfair perspective. Dr. Umar Johnson has been vocal about the challenges faced by African people, particularly in the African diaspora. As I said before, he often emphasized the need for African American and African to unite, embrace their cultural heritage, and work together to address issues such as systemic racism, social inequality, and economic empowerment. Johnson believed in the importance of African-centered education and advocates for the preservation of African tradition, value, and language. He had been critical for neocolonialism and the impact of Western influence in African society. On the other hand, Julius Malema as a survivor.
Okay, all right. So, but now, let me get to this other part. Now you see somebody giving their analysis of that, and let me go back and see part of Julius Malema's protests at the Ugandan embassy. Let's watch it.
You might be asking yourself, can you actually create high quality live stream?
I'm here to say to the comrades and the people of Uganda, we are with them against the tyranny, because we cannot allow any regime in the world to kill people on the basis of identity. We are victims of identity politics. We were killed because we were black. And the only crime we committed was being black. Today, all those who have been killed in Uganda is because it's a community that belongs to LGBTQI+. As a result, they get killed because you woke up one day, you don't like them. How are you going to identify that a person is gay? What scientific method are you going to use that she's lesbian? All you're going to do is to look at a person and out of hatred decide this one is gay, this one is lesbian. It cannot be correct that you identify people on the basis of hatred and you kill them. So we are saying to Museveni, leave the people the way they are. It is not our problem. It is not your problem. It is not a problem. What if Museveni is lesbian or gay himself? What if Museveni is going to discover that much later? Because there are people who discover that even when they are older, that actually this is who I am. Uzovela umsebenzi kancane kancane uyavela. So we must not, because in his family there are people who belong to the gay community. Those will not be killed because they are his family. But those who are not his family, those who do not have political connection, those who are not from well-known families and business families, they are going to be killed not because they are gay, but because they are poor and cannot afford the political connection. Because that's how politics are. They use political connection to decide whether to persecute this person or not to persecute. So we are here to say to Uganda, as long as the LGBTQ plus community is not free in Uganda, we are not free. Yes. As long as the people in Palestine are not free, we are not free. As long as the people of Cuba cannot trade anyhow they want with anyone they want in the world because of the economic embargo imposed on them by imperialist America for more than 60 years, we are not free. As long as the people of Swaziland cannot choose who's going to lead them, but some king out of drunkenness decide who must be.
Okay. So sorry, I'm drinking some kombucha. So yes, so you've seen this exchange in front of the Tanzania. I'm sorry, not Tanzania. The Ugandan embassy. In front of the Ugandan embassy in Pretoria. Many people may not know, for those that may be watching this and may be fans of Julius Malema and may not know that Dr. Umar himself has offered critiques of the LGBT community. They consider him as a principal sort of detractor of theirs. So they protest him at particular events, and they come out and go for him at different times. And so, what's also interesting, many people may not know who Irritated Genie is, but Irritated Genie is an activist in this area, in the DMV area, and he offered critiques of the LGBT community. He's done that consistently for some years. And so recently, when this came out with Julius Malema, Irritated Genie actually called him out, for it. I don't know if he did a particular analysis or a breakdown of the Uganda policy versus what Malema has said, but he posted sort of like that protest or that picture, the image of him wrapped in an LGBTQ flag. Now, with that being said, rather recently, a few, maybe 2 months ago, actually it's for Black History Month, Dr. Umar Johnson was in Baltimore with Irritated Genie. They didn't speak together, but Dr. Umar Johnson was the speaker, and Irritated Genie was out in the room. out in the side selling products. Now, uh, Dr. Umar Johnson did say that people should go out and support Irritated Genie's books and materials and things that he was selling. So this is what I'm saying. Here's the bottom line: confusion on the battlefield. Like when people see those images and able to dissect, and I mean, honestly, none of these people are in any positions of true power, policy wise, and Dr. Umar Johnson hasn't even advocated for a dog catcher like locally to be elected. Never come to the Congressional Black Caucus for anything, and I'm sure he hasn't done anything on a state caucus level. So in the Black Pennsylvania state caucus, even the Delaware state caucus, although he has a political science background. So certainly he should, you would think that he would take some of those resources and advocate for particular policies, but that hasn't, occurred, and neither has he given money that we know to any candidates that he feels that are Garvey, Reese first Garveyites that sometimes aren't able to win particular elections. But getting back to this conversation. So I'm just curious what the conversation was about. And I'm just wondering, like, how would a conversation with Irritated Genie and Julius Malema would go? Because here's the thing, like, you can't have it both ways, Dr. Umar. Let me just show, I sent him a text. I sent Dr. Umar Johnson a text. He hasn't responded to me. And that's why I'm just going to ask the question, like, where do you stand? I sent him this in case he's not aware, in case the Prince of Pan-Africanism, that's the Prince of Pan-Africanism, meaning he knows what's going on in Africa, right? So I sent him an AP Newswire, and I said, South African opposition protests Uganda's anti-LGBTQ bill. I said, Julius Malema supports the gays. How would Irritated Genie feel about your support for Malema? South Africa businesses, tell Malema he needs to mind South Africa business versus Uganda business. Dr. Umar Johnson, you out of all people should repudiate his marching position. Here's what I'm saying, and this is why I had to say that, because it'd be a different thing if he was first and foremost in his country, or if he was a president. Like Julius Malema is reaching at straws with this. He's trying to position himself, by any means necessary to pick up new supporters, to pick up voters, to pick up money from the West. But the contradictory thing, and the very contradictory thing is that he, oh shoot. Okay, wait a minute. Sorry. The contradictory thing of Julius Malema's position on Uganda is that he supports Putin. He supports Vladimir Putin of Russia. Now, Vladimir Putin has, said something that he doesn't support the LGBTQ West, or, so my question is, are you afraid of Russia and Putin, and you just only you only go against your own black people in Africa about the LGBT? See, and that's the thing. I'm like dissecting all of these things. I'm like, I'm not like just speaking from someone that's not looking at the global chessboard with this. So I'm just like, what is Malema thinking that he's doing? Like, what do you have to gain by doing this? Or are you just so, are you like a real human rights person? Like, are you that much into protecting the whole planet? Like, who gave you that authority? And now what Dr. Umar has done, he's given him more credibility. So now you're going to have tens of thousands of Africans and maybe millions of Africans from all over the planet that are going to say, oh, well, maybe Julius mustn't be that bad because Dr. Umar, who's also doesn't support, LGBT, he supports Malema. So now it must not be that bad. Well, maybe Umar has changed his position. Maybe he really isn't like as hard. Maybe he do supports, on some level. And granted, and I don't know the details of the Uganda thing. I know they said it's the most. Some have said the most severe consequences, and I haven't like really dissected it, because I'm minding my own business on some levels. But when you meet with people and you posting pictures and things, you supporting, you endorsing, you are in fact promoting their agenda. You are acting as whether you say it or not, you acting as their co-signer. So this is why you have to watch who you post pictures with. And then for Umar to not even come out and say anything about it, after the fact, after he, had time, because I'm just shocked. Like, you don't have nobody in your corner, no real conscious African that can dissect this for you, or none of your friends have said, hey man, this brother is, protesting Uganda. And here's the thing. My thing is, you understand about the whole population control, right? And now it's like a form of Darwinism. It's like you've rewarded, like China for quite some time was rewarded for reducing their population, for not having as many children in the world. And I recall some years ago, Henry Kissinger, I believe I don't know if it's an official thing, but National Security Memo 200 that talked about the population control. We have to reduce the population by 2 to 4 billion people for it to be sustainable. And one way to do that is to promote this lack of this childbirth. And so that's a part of it. And whether we choose to agree with, that or not, it's real. So I don't know. It's it's a thin line of how you interact with people. But I'm just wondering, like, Umar was like on some levels perceived as the authentic Black man, alpha male, the authentic leader. And now he has gone and taken a picture with not even, he not even, I don't even know if Malema is in parliament anymore. I know he got kicked out of parliament at one time. So I don't know what he's actually doing now. So my thing is, stand on your square, Dr. Umar. Know where you are. Know who you're meeting with. But obviously, you know who you're meeting with, man. And like, what are you going to teach him about South Africa? What y'all going to talk about? Like, for real, like, you don't go to things. Like, you're not building, like, for real alliances. I mean, now he is going to the African Union for the first time this year, which is a good thing for him. But like, what are you going to build in South Africa? I mean, honestly, that might have been the move before you started building what you're trying to do here. So, with that being said, it's all a lot of confusion on a battlefield, and I know that many people aren't going to be able to critique or dissect this, but I know some of Irritated Genie's people, and I know it's gonna be hard for them because they're emotionally addicted to people, and they believe and they follow individuals, and but I'm just like, all right, I don't know what they talked about. I don't care what in the hell they talk about, but here's what Umar and Genie and Malema have to be able to define and articulate, I guess, the threat level, for instance, of the LGBT movement, and should individuals, should Umar I guess shift a little and not make it such a big threat as it is, as it perceives to be. So that's part of the intellectual discussion that should happen. But the reality of it is, if, for instance, if everybody's a part of this, like, where does it lead the masses? So that's also a question that has to be raised up. And so, without further ado, I'm just going to say again, there's confusion on a battlefield and opportunism happening, because I don't know if Julius, it's really weird because I don't know if Julius Malema even know probably like who Dr. Umar is, like, or did somebody just put them two in a room just to do some damn photo ops? Like, that's crazy. I mean, he may not even know who Dr. Umar is. I mean, like, and know what he like actually stands for. That's also an interesting question. Like, do you know what Dr. Umar, how he's interacted, what he said about LGBTQ over his years? So that's all I'm saying, y'all. And I'm the only like intellectual qualified person to really bring this up. But you all can go and look at the links that I shared. Again, and I wouldn't put anything out that I wouldn't say anything. And this is the text I sent to Dr. Umar. Yes, I sent him an actual text to so that he can come correct, or at least explain himself, and a few people have few people, when I said something about it, I didn't go hard. At first. I didn't try to. I just said confusion on a battlefield. What are people standing on? And that's all I said the first time. So I'm not trying to kill anybody's leader, but there's definitely, as I said, politics is making strange bedfellows, y'all. So, all right, I'm out, y'all. Peace. Enjoy. Have a good evening. Talk to you all soon.